Hello everyone and welcome on back to my channel. In today's video, we will be talking about sinking funds specifically for beginners and explaining how you can get started with this process today. Within this video, I will be discussing exactly what sinking funds are and show how you can use this system to make your budget even stronger. So if that sounds like something you would like to learn, then just keep on watching. Now, before we get into the topic of the video, I would of course like to introduce myself for anyone that may be new. Hello, I'm Monet, and this channel focuses on me sharing my financial journey through budgeting and becoming debt-free. When it comes to my personal budget method, I utilize the cash envelope system, and it has created huge improvements towards my money management. Of course, I am no financial advisor, but over a year, I have remained consistent with this process, and with such positive results, it has encouraged me to create videos that aim to help someone else that may be in a similar situation. So hopefully this video is helpful, and if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the bell so that you are notified every time I upload a new video. I also wanted to note that this video comes as a highly requested follow-up to previous videos I have shared on my channel. I have created a playlist of budget tips that I think would be helpful for beginners, and hopefully these videos will answer any additional questions that you may have. I will link the playlist in the cards and in the description box so you guys can check them out if you haven't seen them already. So let's go ahead and get started with the number one question. What are sinking funds? As I've shared before, I define sinking funds as mini savings. But if we wanted to take this definition a step further, I would say that sinking funds are money that you save for a specific goal. Now let me explain to you why I think sinking funds are important. Creating sinking funds will ultimately make your budget stronger and can alleviate the pressure of larger purchases. We all know the saying, life happens, and sinking funds have helped me tremendously to overcome some of these challenges. If you are not planning for these common circumstances, they will have to come out of your budget somehow. And this tends to be the moment when people turn to credit cards or dip into their emergency funds. Sinking funds allow you to strategically plan these expenses so you don't have to pull money out of other areas. So now you might be asking yourself, how are sinking funds different from savings or emergency funds? To answer this question, it is important to refer back to the definition of a sinking fund. The key words within the definition are specific goals. Now, when it comes to your savings, sinking funds are different because, as we said, we are saving for a specific goal, but we are also saving with the intention of eventually spending these funds. So, for example, we can create a sinking fund for car maintenance because we know that eventually cars will need oil changes, repairs, or new tires. So we are saving our money knowing that we will be spending it on these things. However, when it comes to general savings, we are saving money not necessarily for a specific goal in mind, but because we want to build wealth. We want to accumulate our earnings and not have to spend it. As for an emergency fund, this fund is created for actual unplanned emergencies. Something that has happened to you that you could not have possibly seen coming. If we go back to the example of the car, we knew eventually that things will need to be prepared. That's why it would be best to start saving now within our sinking funds, and over time our fund will build. But the emergency fund money is there to help you when something unexpected happens. An example can be an unforeseen medical emergency or a job loss. With these examples, you had no idea that they were coming, but your emergency fund is there to help and protect you in your time of need. So now we can move into the topic of how to categorize your sinking funds. Sinking funds can be broken out into multiple categories, and this is also the part of budgeting when it becomes very personal. Always remember that your categories are for you and should fit the needs of your budget. Everyone's budget will have different categories for their sinking funds, and you can have as many or as little sinking funds as you would like. But for the sake of the video, I will go over common sinking funds that I've seen people use. So as for the first common sinking fund, we have touched upon it already throughout the video, but I really think it is worth mentioning again because I love this sinking fund. Of course, I'm talking about car maintenance. This is a sinking fund that will be crucial if you have a car because, as we said, it will break down, it will need repairs, and you can also use it as just a regular car expense sinking fund so that if one day you want to save up to upgrade your car, you can utilize this sinking fund as well. The next common sinking fund is if you celebrate Christmas. Christmas is, of course, a national holiday that a lot of people celebrate, and it is a holiday that can break the bank if you are not budgeting and if you are not preparing for it. So by you starting this sinking fund, say earlier in the year, it will alleviate the pressure that you feel come December, so you are not putting all of your purchases on credit cards or overspending. Another sinking fund that I think is worth mentioning is a medical expense. After the year we've had, we know that medical expenses and taking care of your health should be a top priority. So when it comes to any co-pays that you may need to cover, any prescriptions that you may need to buy, all of this can fall within your medical fund and it can help you when you most need it. Another sinking fund can be classified as travel or, say, a vacation sinking fund. For this particular sinking fund, I think it can be important, especially when you are on a debt-free journey. Having a travel sinking fund or a vacation sinking fund is nice because you have some money to set aside to unwind and de-stress and still get a chance to enjoy your finances even when you are trying to get them under control. And lastly, a sinking fund that I think is another good one will be for annual payments or for annual subscriptions. It has become common that things can be paid annually, and it also works out better when you pay things annually because in the long run, you are paying less than if you would every month. A good example of this would be, say, your Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime does give you an option to pay for this subscription annually rather than paying month to month, and in the long run, you are saving money. So for things such as Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or your gym membership, if you are able to save up for an entire yearly payment for it and then just pay it out in one shot, that also may work out better for you and your budget. Next, we can move on to the question of how much money do you put within your sinking funds? For me, the first step to determining how much money to put in each sinking fund is understanding if the sinking fund has a time frame or not. Sinking funds with deadlines take priority for me because the whole point of me creating these categories is to ensure that I have the funds for them. So an example of a sinking fund with a goal time frame can be Christmas and your annual payments. These categories have a time frame of when the payments are due. Christmas, as we know, is December 25th. And for an annual payments, if we use the example again of Amazon Prime and say that this is due on October 15th, and say we have a car insurance premium that we're trying to pay annually, and that is due November 8th. So once you gather all of that information, it's important to know how much time you have until all of these payments are due so that then you can figure out how much you need to put within your sinking funds. So if I use the example of saying I get paid bi-weekly, I will look at my calendar, see when I get paid, and count how many paychecks I am receiving until the time frame of this sinking fund is due. So if we're looking at Christmas, and if we say that I want to put away $500, I can count and I will see that I have 16 paychecks until December 25th if I start today. As for Amazon Prime, the annual payment is $120, and if I count that, I have 11 paychecks until that is due. And for my car insurance, if I owe $1,000 for the year, I count and I see that I have 13 paychecks due. So once you figure out that information, all you have to do is divide how much you want to put within your sinking funds by the amount of paychecks that you will be receiving. So if we do Christmas and we do the $500 that we're trying to save, divide that by the 16 paychecks that we will be receiving, we see that we're going to need to put away at least $32 every paycheck to make that goal. For Amazon Prime, if we have 120, we divide that by 11 weeks, we have to put away $11 per paycheck. And if we have car insurance for $1,000 and we only have 13 paychecks, we have to put away $77 per paycheck. So already just looking at any of the sinking funds that have a due date, we know that I need to put aside at least $120 per paycheck to meet these goals. And for me to stay on track, I will make a point to try and not miss a payment, because if you miss one payment, you're behind and then you're gonna have to make it up somehow. So now we can get into talking about sinking funds that do not necessarily have a specific time frame. As for me, I look at my sinking funds with my car maintenance and medical as something that I don't have a specific due date for. Personally, when it comes to these sinking funds, I do what I can each paycheck. I will have a desired goal to add to each envelope within my budget at the start of the month, but with these categories, I tend to be more flexible. I can budget $20 and only give $10 without feeling like I'm behind or I have to make up a payment. But I can also budget $20 and give myself $50 instead, and I would be ahead. Of course, if you know you are in need of an oil change soon, or if you have a prescription that you need to refill, you will prioritize these sinking funds, so you may actually have a set amount that you may need to put in. But again, I just look at them as saving what you can. So in this scenario, let's say that after you've paid all of your bills and covered your expenses, you have a remaining $300 after every paycheck. You can now disperse this money as followed and build your sinking funds over time. So as you can see, after everything has been paid and you contributed towards your sinking funds, you may still have a remaining amount left over, and you can put that money towards debt or your savings. Alright guys, so there you go. Now you know what sinking funds are, and you can get started with including them in your budget. Overall, I really hope this video was helpful and easy to follow. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know down below within the comments, and if you have any additional questions or other suggestions on what I should talk about next, please go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss where we go next. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with others who may find it helpful. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time in my next video. Bye guys!